Welcome to yet another unprofessionally filmed, yet hopefully informative video for N64 modification. This is an Instapot, or Instant Pot I guess I should say, and it's on slow cook. You could use a crock pot. I've got some wax in that jar, and we're going to bring it out, and I'm going to just dip a few screws in it here in a second. So the reason for this video was because some people were having some issues with their V3 joysticks, in that the threads of the joystick were a touch loose, and they were noticing that the nib was basically retracting into the stick as they played, or it would go in and out because the nib would spin a little bit. So I've done a little bit of testing and playing around with different things, and I've made a concoction. This is just a mixture of beeswax, lemon essential oil, and olive oil. It doesn't really matter what essential oil you use. You probably don't have to use essential oil, but I would say 90% beeswax plus about 10% some kind of oil. I like the smell of lemon essential oil, and lemon or any essential oil thins the wax, and it allows it to be more supple at closer to room temperature. So does the olive oil. You can experiment with different combinations. This is just what I settled on. I found that if there wasn't as much oil in the beeswax, it was quite stiff at room temperature. So basically, you're trying to mess up the integrity of the wax so it doesn't harden so hard. So basically, I've got a screw here, an internal V3 screw, and there's the top. It's the hex key side, and I've found that actually dipping it in pretty much all the way was the best. It had the best hold. So there it is. I've dipped it in the wax, and you see a nice waxy coating there. And I will show you now how to install the waxed screw into your joystick. And by the way, you don't have to use beeswax. I just like natural solutions. This is all natural, and actually, incidentally, all the ingredients in this mixture are also organic. I love organic, and I support organic anything that has to do with reduction of use of chemicals. So I would highly recommend organic beeswax, organic olive oil, and organic lemon essential oil, or whatever essential oil you want to use. And now I'll show you how to install the screw in the joystick. Okay, so we have our V3 joystick that we may have taken out of our module. It's got the nib in it. We have the screw that we just waxed, and this joystick has a screw in it. So let's say you're having this issue. There's a few ways that you can deal with this. So one way that people have dealt with this issue is they take the joystick out of their controller, they pop the nib out just like I did there. I tightened the screw until the nib went out, and what they'll do is they will see now the joystick screw is starting to come out of the joystick. You can keep it going out just like that. I've got the hex key now. The hex key allows you to go farther. You can even remove the screw like this, or what some people will do, because they're a little bit frightened about ruining their V3, they'll just dip it in like this, and that's fine, and it works great. That's totally fine. That's a good solution. But I've actually found that getting the wax basically as all the way to the from bottom to top, as far as you can reach, maybe just leaving a tiny bit unexposed, or a tiny bit of the screw exposed. So let's say, okay, we're going to do the second method where we actually remove the screw. So what I would recommend is this: removing it from the bottom and inserting it from the bottom is the least dangerous way to remove your screw. If you're trying to put your screw in there, in the top, it's more easy for the screw to get stuck. Well, it's not. If the screw gets stuck, let's say, if the screw gets stuck, it's in there, and you have no way of grabbing it. And if it's stuck in there and it's bound, you can't use your V3 joystick screw function. So one way of getting around that, I actually just thought of, is just finger tightening it from the bottom. So just like what we usually do with any thread, see, I turn it in reverse until I feel it kind of drop into the threads, just like you would do on your controller, your plastic controller threads when you're removing the screws or reinstalling screws in your controller. You reverse the screw until it drops into its thread, and then you let's see, I gotta use my eyes. There we go. There, okay, so it's dropped in, and I'm using my fingers. I'm not using a tool which adds extra torque and potentially can bind or strip a screw. So I'm just using my fingers, and you can kind of feel when you're on the threads properly, and you can also you're not using hardly any torque when you're just using your fingers like this. This is the safest way. And oops. Make sure, obviously I just did it backwards, but make sure the hex is going that way. So when you're installing it, just reverse, it drops in, and you can't really hardly mess it up this way. But the first method there, it's completely safe. There is no way to screw up your joystick if you do the first method, where they just push the screw out the bottom and drop it in the wax. But if you're a little bit more, if you're pretty mechanically inclined, like, you know that this is going to be very safe. And okay, let's say, before I go on with the wax screw, let's say it does get stuck for some reason, and it's like bound. Oh man, it's stuck. I can't get it out. Well, this whole chunk of it is sticking out. That's why this is safer. Let's say it was stuck. You can just unbind it with some pliers. You know, I just made that scenario up. You should probably never have this problem. You shouldn't. Just try to be gentle, and it'll work. This is the safest way to remove and reinstall that screw. So okay, here's our beeswax screw. There's the hex side. It's going that way. And you'll feel it when it's starting to thread on. So now it's threading, and now I have this the big waxy side is sticking out, and I'm threading it into the stick by reversing the screw. Like that. And it's pulling that screw in, and you'll notice that wax is being extruded off of the screw because there's a lot more wax than is actually needed. But what's good is that the wax that's needed is between the joystick and the screw. It's caught between in the threads of the screw, and So now there's all this extra wax. You can take that off. And you want to make sure that that's really, oh, I'm not even all the way in yet. Let me get it all the way in there. There we go. Get it all the way. And then I'll just take the end of the tool here, and I'll just clean off any excess that has gotten onto the outer edges of the hole. And just make sure there's no wax on the outside of your joystick where it can contact your gears. The wax is sort of sticky, and it might make you have some gummy feel, like a gummy feel when you're trying to play. You don't really want that. But this blend of wax is just, beeswax is more sticky than candle wax or paraffin. Like, just look at how my fingers stick together. So beeswax is it's more of a sticky wax. And I recommend it over candle or paraffin wax, but it does work. I mean, candle and paraffin wax does work. This is just a firmer hold. And what's great about wax of any kind is if it somehow, which I doubt it ever would, if it somehow was to bind in the screws, you can just take apply some heat to your joystick, and it would soften the wax, and you'd be able to get it out. You cannot really do that with other substances like Loctite. For the most part, wax is much more. It melts faster and better in the presence of heat. But you probably don't ever need heat if you're using this kind of blend. So any screw that I'm selling for the V3 joystick is going to have wax on it, and in the future any V3 joysticks I sell will have wax, this particular blend of wax on it. So you don't have to worry about installing it. But this video is made for really those of you who already have a V3 joystick and are having the issue of the screw loosening while you're playing. So okay, now one thing to note, there's a little bit of wax in that hole. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and actually I think it's a good thing, because what it does is it almost kind of glues the nib. It kind of makes it stay in. Like, the nib is sticking out really far because the screw isn't all the way retracted, and I can shake it and everything, and it's not coming off. So that might be a nice thing, and it may also prevent the rotation of the nib while you play. It kind of holds it more firmly where it is. So hey, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Hopefully it is. I don't see why it wouldn't be. But I'm going to retract the nib into the stick back to like basically like a neutral position. Like the starting position is like all the way retracted, and then you put the joystick into your module and then tune your screw to the proper height, your nib height, and away you go. And this shouldn't have any issues. There's a guy on the Discord server, the Dow6 Discord server, Cutsy Kong. He explored using paraffin. Paraffin works. I mentioned to someone else to try candle wax. That's probably going to work too. But this is a great solution, and you could also probably use this solution for your screw, your cap screw. It smoothly screws, but adds a little resistance to the screwing, and it also would help prevent your cap from unthreading while you're playing. So those are some good suggestions, and I hope you learned a lot, and I hope this video helps you. And notice how odd this experience is. How improbable that we could do this together. How improbable that we could do this. How improbable that there is anything at all. No matter what you believe, that there is anything is an absolute miracle. And we are always witnessing this miracle in full view. Thank you for everything, and I hope to have made your N64 joystick experience even better. Have a great day.